Hello students. Today we are going to study a story about an American animal and its name is Roger Skunk. Skunk is an American animal who smells very bad. In this chapter, Jack tells a story to his daughter Jo about that American animal, and the name of the animal is skunk, but the name has been given in this chapter is Roger. So, this story is about Roger
Hello
Skunk.
everyone. In this video, I have covered significance of the title and important questions and answers of chapter number 5, Should Visit It Mommy by John Updike from CBSE Class 12th English Supplementary Reader with Stars. It was a Saturday evening and time for Joe's usual naps. Jack asked Joe about the new lead in the story. Joe wanted it to be Skunk. Having a fresh hero momentarily stirred Jack to creative enthusiasm. Jack started narrating the Roger Skunk story. Let's focus on the significance of the title. The title is much justified as the story revolves around the question of understanding. In the story, the daughter Jo desires for an ending where the skunk is somehow made acceptable to his playmates. However, the father had ended the story where the skunk's real self remained intact. The author deliberately keeps the story open ended and does not state his opinion. The title is an open question put to the reader to attempt an interrogation, analyze, and give a verdict whether the mother needs to be hit or spared. Let me begin with important short answer type questions from text. Read and find out. Question number 1. Who is Jo? How does she respond to her father's storytelling? Jo, or Joanne, is the 4-year-old daughter of Jack and Claire. For the last 2 years, her father, Jack, has been telling her bedtime stories. Since these stories are woven around the same basic tale and have the same characters and turn of events, they are almost predictable for her. However, she still listens to them very attentively. Her responses to the stories were a curious mixture of emotions caught in recognition of the known and eagerness to explore the unknown aspects woven in the basic tale by her father. She was also a very observant listener and corrected her father whenever she felt he faltered. Question number 2. What possible plot line could the story continue with? The story could possibly have continued along the same plot line as all of Jack's stories did. From Joe's point of view, the story should have ended on a happy note with Roger Skunk getting rid of the foul smell forever and being able to play with all other woodland creatures. In the process of storytelling, it was evident that Jack got nostalgic about his own childhood and his mother. Thus, he brought in his own perspective. His sense of belongingness to his mother and his experience of dealing with reality resulted in a mature and compromising end where the reality limited the scope of fiction. As he associated himself with the main character of the story, Roger Skunk, he avoided getting into the problematic situation of identity crisis and of blaming his mother. Question number 3. What do you think was Joe's problem? Answer. Little Joe had been accustomed to the happy ending of the stories of Roger, where the wizard was helpful to him in fulfilling his wish. At the request of Roger Skunk, the wizard had changed his awful smell to that of the roses. Other small animals liked it and played with him happily. She could not digest the ending of the story where Roger Skunk's mother hit the wizard on the head and forced him to change Skunk's smell to the earlier foul one. She is unable to understand the true worth of one's originality. Jo insisted that her father should tell her the same story again the next day, with changed ending. The wizard should hit that unreasonable mommy on the head and leave Roger Skunk emitting the pleasant smell of roses. She wants Roger to be accepted even if it means getting rid of his original smell. Question number 4. What was the basic storyline of the tale that Jack told? The stories that Jack used to tell Joanne were the slight variation of the basic tale about a small creature, usually named Roger, who had some problem. He would go to the wise owl. The wise owl would ask him to go to the wizard, who would finally solve his problem. Question number 5. Why was storytelling especially fatiguing for Jack on Saturdays? Answer. The ritual of storytelling was followed with the sole purpose of making Jo sleep. She was now 4 and no longer slept like an infant. Saturday's storytelling session was lengthy and fatiguing for the father as the child had grown up and refused to sleep. Question number 6. Which animal did Jo suggest for the story that day? Why? Answer. Jo suggested the animal skunk that day to her father. They must have talked about skunks at nursery school. Having a fresh hero momentarily stirred Jack to creative enthusiasm. Question number 7. What part of the story did Jack enjoy the most and why? Answer. Jack particularly enjoyed the part when he changed his voice to that of an old man, imitating the wizard's voice. He did it by squeezing his face and somehow whining through his eyes. He felt being an old man suited him. Besides, he also enjoyed telling the story when Jo listened carefully, without interrupting him with questions. Question number 8. Why was Roger Skunk's mother angry? On whom did she pour her anger? Answer. Roger Skunk's mommy was angry because the wizard had made her son smell like roses, which was not the way a little skunk should smell. She poured her anger on the wizard and hit him with an umbrella on his head. Question number 9. Which do you think is a better ending of Roger Skunk's story, Joe's or her father's? Why? Answer. According to me, Joe's father's ending of Roger Skunk's story was better, as it was a nice way to teach Joe the importance of being the way you are and not changing yourself to please the world. While Joe's ending would sound more pleasing and happy, Jack's version of the ending gave Joe a reality check. Reading with insight. Question number 1. What is the moral issue that the story raises? The author, through his story, raises a moral questions of how much authority parents should exercise in teaching their children what is wrong, what is right, what they should do, and what not. Since answer may vary from person to person, John Updike leaves it for the readers to answer it on the basis of their beliefs and values. There's a sharp contrast between an adult's perception of life and the worldview of a little child. Children represent innocence. Hatred and injustice have no place in their world. In the story, the baby skunk was able to make friends only after he smelled of roses. In Joe's perspective, the happiness of being able to make friends surpassed any other thing. As a result, she is unable to assess the reason why the mother skunk pressurized her child to get his original foul body odor restored. On the contrary, Jack tried to justify the skunk's mother and wanted Roger to listen to his mother even if it means smelling bad again. Jack, A typical father wanted his daughter to believe that parents are always correct and they know what is best for their children. Thus, the story raises the question of whether parents should always be followed blindly. Another question that the story seems to raise is that should we, like Roger Skunk, pretend or try to be what we are not, or should we, like Skunk's mother, accept ourselves as nature has made us without bothered about what others would think about us? Question number 2. How does Joe want the story to end and why? Answer. Jo was not convinced with the ending of the story and coaxed her father to retell the story the next day, giving the story a predetermined path that she had set. According to her, neither Roger Skunk nor the wizard was wrong in the story. Joe refused to accept the end where Roger Skunk's mother hits the wizard, and that too without being hit back. She wanted the story to end with the wizard hitting back the mother skunk with his magic wand. She felt that Roger was better off with his new smell as he was accepted by woodland creatures. She wanted the story to end on a happy note. Question. The same situation can be viewed through two different perspectives. How does Should Visit It Mommy establish this point through the view of Jack and Joe? Answer. An adult's view of life is different from that of a child. It is more realistic, practical, and matter of fact due to an adult's numerous experiences in life. In contrast to this, the child views the world with rose colored glasses. It is a perfect world untouched by the hard realities of life. Thus, a child's view is very innocent as compared to that of an adult. Jack, the father in the story Should Visit It Mommy, told a story which was similar to one of his own childhood experiences. Through it, he wanted to convey to his daughter Jo that whatever parents say or do for their children is in their best interest. However, Jo thought from the narrow perspective of a child and wanted an ending different from that Jack had narrated. Question. Why does Jack insist that it was the wizard that was hit and not the mother? Answer. There are few reasons for Jack's persistence on only the wizard being hit by the mommy. First, Jack insisted that it was the wizard that was hit and not the mother, as he wanted to prove a point to Joe that the little skunk loved his mother more than he loved all the other creatures, and his mother knew what was right for him. Second, Jo was very young at the time, and Jack believed that it was time for her to learn to respect elders and understand that whatever elders do is for their best. Jack, while narrating the story, unknowingly got emotionally connected with the character of the protagonist and his mother. He pictured his own mother in place of Roger Skunk's mother and thus could not imagine his own mother being hit by anyone. Moreover, he personally considered her to have made right decision for Roger. Question. What makes Jack feel caught in an ugly middle position? Answer. Jack feels that he was caught in an ugly middle position physically, emotionally, as well as mentally. He was not able to help his wife in painting the woodwork because at the same time he was busy in narrating the story to his daughter. It is important to note that the story also presents the upsetting of traditional gender roles while at the same time revealing the male psyche and Jack's chauvinistic attitude. Jack was conscious of his duties as a father and as a husband. His efforts to make Jo fall asleep proved quite fatiguing. She kept on interrupting him, asking for clarifications, pointing errors, and suggesting alternatives. As the story of Roger Skunk is unfolded, the impatient and unsatisfied Jo strongly puts forth her point of view. She did not want the story to end the way her father had perceived and narrated it. The force with which Jo had asked him to change the end of the story left him in a dilemma. He was caught in a battle between the two perspectives and could not find a way to make Jo understand his point of view that mothers are never wrong. So he extended the story, though he was in a haste to go downstairs and help his pregnant wife. Claire complained that it was a quite long story. Jack felt utter weariness and did not want to speak with his wife or work with her or touch her. He was really caught in an ugly middle position as he could not wipe out the gap between the old and young generation. Question: what is your stance regarding the two endings to the Roger Skunk story? Answer: considering the tender age of Jo, both the endings seem a little irrational. It is certain that she will be learning from whatever she hears and visualizes at this age. If the story ends according to Jack, Jo will never be able to question anything she considers wrong in life, since this ending stressed that elders are always right in whatever they do. In addition, the story shows the skunk's mommy hitting the wizard for no fault of his. The wizard had only done what he was asked to. This may scare the 4-year-old Jo, as it teaches that mothers, being elders, have the right to hit anyone even if they are not at fault. On the contrary, if the story ends as Jo wanted it to, it will stop her from believing in and respecting her elders. She may even start believing that there is nothing wrong in hitting elders. A balanced view may be given in an apt ending, where the mommy does not hit the wizard at all, but make Roger realize the importance of one's originality and individuality. Question: why is the adult's perspective of life different from that of a child? Answer: a child's speech and line of thought, his actions and reactions are natural and not guided by any outward influence. He speaks from his heart in accordance with what is ethically right in his perspective. On the other hand, an adult has many things to consider before speaking or reacting. Thus, the influence of society governs and dominates his thoughts. In this chapter, Jo speaks what she considers correct, but Jack, an adult caught in a dilemma, kept thinking on the consequences of accepting his daughter's ending to the story and what the society has made him learn over the time. The story highlights the conflict between the parents and children, the irrational and annoyance felt by the older generation when their customs and authority is challenged or questioned by the younger generation. Jo does not quietly accept what her father has to tell her, while Jack evokes his parental authority to silence her. As a young growing up girl, Jo begins to question more as her mind develops, while Jack, who is growing old, would have preferred the comfort of a quietly accepting younger Jo.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Have a nice day.